There is a man I want you to picture before I say anything else. He is sitting at his desk at 10 minutes past midnight. The lamp is the only light in the house. His shirt is wrinkled from the long day, his coffee has gone cold 3 times, and the spreadsheet on his screen has not changed in 2 hours. He is working. He is working very, very hard, and the harder he works, the further the money moves away from him. I want you to hear that again. Because everything I have to teach you tonight rests on it. The harder he works, the further the money moves away from him. He does not know this yet. He believes the opposite. He believes that if he stays at that desk 1 more hour, the breakthrough will arrive. It will not arrive. It cannot arrive. Not through that door. And until somebody sits him down and explains why, he will spend the next 10 years of his life draining himself dry in front of a screen that owes him nothing. I am going to be that somebody for you tonight. I am going to tell you something that goes against almost everything you have been taught since the day you could hold a pencil. I am going to tell you that effort, the kind of grinding, teeth-clenched, sleepless effort the world calls ambition, is the single most reliable way to block wealth from entering your life. Not slow it down, block it, like a stone in a riverbed, like a hand clamped over a faucet. The water is there. The supply has never been the problem. The supply is, and has always been, infinite. The problem is the hand, and the hand belongs to you, and the hand has been taught to squeeze when it should be opening, to grip when it should be releasing, to strain when it should be still. Tonight, I am going to teach you to open the hand. I am going to teach you a thing that takes 5 minutes, that costs nothing, that can be done in a chair, in a bed, on a park bench, on the floor of your kitchen at 4 in the morning when the house is quiet. And I am going to tell you exactly why it works so that no part of you can dismiss it later as wishful thinking. This is not wishful, this is law itself, and the law has been waiting for you to notice it your entire life. Do not turn this off because the first 5. The discomfort is the old conviction inside you protesting that something must be wrong if it is this simple. Something is not wrong. Something is being corrected right now. Sit with it. I want you to feel, even before I say another word, what it would mean if what I am telling you is true. What it would mean if the harder you work doctrine that has run your life since childhood is in fact a quiet form of slow drowning. What it would mean if there were a door, narrower than the world has ever shown you, that opens onto exactly what you have been trying to force through the wide doors. What it would mean if the wealth you have been chasing has, all this time, been standing 1 foot behind you, waiting for you to stop running long enough to turn around. That is not a metaphor. That is the actual condition of your life. And you are about to learn in this hour how to turn around. What I want to give you in this hour is something very specific, not motivation. Motivation evaporates by Tuesday. I want to give you a working understanding of how your subconscious actually moves money toward you and how the conscious, striving, calculating mind keeps blocking it without your knowing. I want to give you the 5-minute practice itself in plain language, with no mystery and no jargon, so that by the time we are done you could teach it to a child. I want to give you the inner posture to hold for the first 7 days, because the first 7 days are where most people quit. And I want to give you a final understanding so deep that you never go back to the old way. Because once you have seen the river, you will not pick the stones up again. If something I say tonight lands in you and you feel it land, the kindest thing you can do is press the little heart on your screen. I do not say that as a creator. I say it because that small gesture is how this teaching reaches the person who needs it most. And there is someone right now scrolling past, exhausted, who needs exactly what you are about to hear. If a thought stirs in you while we walk together, leave a word in the comments below. Tell me what you felt. Do not be shy. The act of writing it down deepens it in you, and the words you leave often become medicine for the stranger who reads them after you. And if you want this work to find you again, the way an old friend finds you on a quiet evening, stay close by subscribing. That is all. No fanfare. We will simply continue. Now, settle in. Put the phone down where you cannot see the screen. Loosen your shoulders now. We are about to begin. I want to start with the lie. I am going to call it a lie, even though most of the people who told it to you meant well. Your father may have told you. Your mother may have told you. Your teachers told you. The men on television told you. The lie goes like this. Money comes to those who work the hardest. Sweat equals reward. Pain equals gain. The harder the labor, the larger the harvest. I want you to hear this slowly. That belief, repeated long enough and deeply enough, is one of the most reliable forms of spiritual bankruptcy a human being can carry. It hollows you out. It exhausts the body, it dulls the mind, and it cuts the cord between you and the very supply you are reaching for. Effort, as the world teaches it, is the language of lack itself. It is the body's way of saying, I do not believe enough will come unless I force it. And the subconscious mind, the quiet gardener that grows whatever you plant in it, hears that confession every single hour you are working from that place. Let me say it more plainly. When you strain for money, you are telling the deepest part of yourself that money is hard to get. When you overwork for it, you are confessing that it does not come freely. When you skip meals and skip sleep and skip your child's bedtime to chase it, you are pressing into your subconscious the conviction that wealth is a thing won by suffering alone. And the subconscious, which has no opinion of its own, which does not argue, which does not filter, will arrange your outer life to match that conviction exactly. It will hand you struggle, because struggle is what you ordered. It will hand you scarcity, because scarcity is the feeling you have been broadcasting, as within, so without. That is not poetry. That is the operating principle of the world you live in. You have to understand something about effort that almost no one will tell you. The world rewards effort, yes, but only the effort that flows downstream from an already settled conviction. The man who is convinced in his bones that wealth is his birthright can work 12 hours a day and never tire, because his work is the natural overflow of an inner state. The man who is not convinced, who is working 12 hours a day to prove to the universe that he deserves money, is doing something entirely different, even if it looks the same from the outside. He is performing effort as ransom. He is paying a tax to a God who does not exist. And every hour he works in that posture is an hour deepening the conviction of unworthiness in his subconscious. He is not building wealth, he is digging a hole. And the hole grows deeper the longer he digs. I had a man come to me some years ago in Brooklyn. He was a furniture merchant. A good man, hard-working in the way the world admires. He opened the shop at 6 in the morning and closed it at 9 at night, 6 days a week. He had not taken a vacation in 11 years. His marriage was thin, his health was beginning to crack. His back gave him pain every morning when he climbed out of bed. And the shop, for all his effort, was barely breaking even. He came to me angry. He said, I have done everything a man is supposed to do, and I have nothing to show for it. What more does the universe want from me? I let him sit with that question for a long minute. Then I said to him very gently, I do not think the universe wants more from you. I think the universe has been trying for 11 years to give you more, and you have been too busy working to receive it. He looked at me as if I had insulted him. Most people do when they hear it the first time. They have built their identity on the labor. They have told themselves all my life that the labor is what makes me worthy. To suggest that the labor is in fact the obstacle is to suggest that the identity itself is wrong. That is a wound. I told him I knew it was a wound. I told him to sit with it anyway. Within a year, after he learned what I am about to teach you, his shop tripled in revenue. His marriage came back to life. His back stopped aching. He took his wife to Italy for the first time in their 30 years together. He did not work harder. He worked less. He cut his hours from 15 a day to 8. He took Sundays off for the first time in 2 decades. And the money came faster than it had in his entire life. He told me, the year after Italy, that the strangest part of the whole experience was not the money, it was the realization that he had been afraid all those years. Afraid that if he stopped grinding, the world would punish him. Afraid that the moment he relaxed, the bottom would fall out. Effort for him had been a form of compulsive prayer to a God he was secretly terrified of. And the moment he stopped praying that way, the God turned out to have been kind all along. Hear me. The lie of effort is not that work is bad. Work is sacred always. The lie is that work alone, divorced from inner conviction, is what produces wealth. It does not. It never has. The visible work is only the last expression of an invisible conviction. The conviction comes first, always. The world is a mirror, and the mirror does not reflect what you do. The mirror reflects what you are. And what you are is shaped not by what you tell yourself in the mirror at the gym, but by what the silent subconscious has accepted as true hour after hour, day after day, for years on end. Change the conviction, and the outer work begins to bear fruit it could never bear before. Leave the conviction untouched, and you can work yourself into an early grave and never see the harvest. The cemeteries are full of men who outworked their inner convictions and died at 58 with empty bank accounts and exhausted wives. So I want you to begin tonight with a question that may sting a little. What conviction has your effort been confessing? What has your striving been telling your subconscious about how money behaves? Has it been telling the gardener that money is scarce, that it must be wrestled out of the world, that you are not enough on your own and must add hours and hours of straining to become enough? Because whatever it has been telling, the subconscious has heard, and whatever the subconscious has heard, your outer life has been busy proving true. The first step out of this is to see it. Just to see it. Do not fight it yet. Do not try to flip it yet. Just see it. The seeing is the crack of light under the door. The seeing is the first honest moment of your new life. Honor it. Do not skip past it. Sit with this for a moment longer. Most people race past this question because the answer makes them uncomfortable. I want you to slow down here. The conviction underneath your effort has a particular flavor. Find the flavor. Is it the flavor of must, of having to prove something, of bracing against an invisible disappointment? Is it the flavor of catching up, of being behind, of running to make up for a head start everyone else seems to have gotten? Is it the flavor of avoiding loss, of working so the bottom does not fall out, of grinding to keep the wolves from the door? Each of those flavors is a different seed, and each of them is growing a different version of struggle in the soil of your life. The work of this teaching is not to make you work less for the sake of working less. The work is to surface the flavor and replace it. Until the flavor is replaced, working less will only fill you with anxiety. After the flavor is replaced, working less will fill you with peace, and the work you do choose to do will be the kind that bears fruit. The seed comes first. Always. Tonight, find the seed. Now I want to tell you what the subconscious actually is, because most of what you have read about it is either fluff or marketing. The subconscious is not a magical wishing well. It is not a mystical other self. It is, in the simplest and most useful language I can give you, a gardener. A patient, obedient, unimaginative gardener. It does not choose what to plant. It does not argue with what you hand it. It does not say, this seed is a weed, perhaps I should refuse it. It plants what you give it. It plants every seed of every feeling you have ever placed in it, and then it grows them faithfully in the outer soil of your life. Whatsoever you impress upon the subconscious, you express. Murphy said that 100 different ways across his life. I want you to carry it with you tonight, as if it were a small stone in your pocket. Whatsoever you impress upon the subconscious, you express. Not whatsoever you wish. Not whatsoever you say, whatsoever you impress. An impression is made by feeling, not by speech. This is where most well-meaning people get it wrong. They sit in front of the mirror and they recite affirmations through gritted teeth. I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I am wealthy. And the subconscious, the gardener, looks at them and says, no, you are not. You are a person clenching your jaw in front of a mirror, broadcasting panic, while telling me a sentence you do not believe. I will plant the panic because the panic is what you actually handed me. The words were just noise on top of the seed. The seed itself was fear. Do you see why people grind for years on affirmations and nothing happens? It is not the words. The words are fine. The words are powerful when they are planted with the right feeling tone. The feeling tone is everything. The feeling tone is the seed. The words are only the label on the seed packet, and a label without a seed grows nothing. The gardener responds to one thing, and only one thing. The settled, quiet, embodied feeling that something is already true, not the wish. The wish carries inside it the confession that the thing is missing. The gardener hears that confession and grows more missing, not the affirmation recited as a request. A request is just a louder wish. The gardener hears louder wishing and grows more wishing. The gardener responds to the felt, settled, almost boring certainty that the thing is already done, that you already have, that the door is already open, that the money has already arrived even if your eyes have not yet seen it. The Master taught this clearly. Whatsoever things ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. He did not say believe that you will receive them. He said believe that ye receive them. Present tense. Already done. The English word for that posture is faith, but the world has worn that word so thin that I prefer to call it the wish fulfilled. The feeling of the wish fulfilled. That is the seed. That is what the gardener accepts and grows. There is a strangeness to this teaching that I want to name directly, because if I do not, your conscious mind will use it as an excuse to dismiss everything. The strangeness is this. The gardener cannot tell the difference between what is and what you have convinced yourself is. The deeper mind has no truth detector. It has no fact checker. It does not run a verification against the outer world before deciding whether to grow a seed. It simply grows whatever you press into it with sustained feeling. This sounds, on first hearing, like a flaw. It is not a flaw. It is the very mechanism by which your life can change. If the subconscious could only grow what was already objectively true, you would be sentenced forever to your current circumstances. The fact that it grows what you sustainedly feel is precisely what makes transformation possible. The feeling comes first, the reality follows. That is the order. The world has taught you the reverse, and the reverse is wrong. I want to tell you about another client, a woman, an architect, who came to me wanting a contract worth $120,000. She had been chasing it for 8 months. She had been writing emails, calling, following up, networking, polishing her portfolio at midnight, losing sleep over it. The harder she chased, the further it moved. I asked her one question. I said, when you imagine that contract already signed and the money already in your account, what do you feel? She paused. Then she said, I feel light. I feel like I could finally take my mother to the doctor I have been wanting to take her to. I feel calm. I said that calm itself is the seed. Stop the chasing. Sit with the calm for 5 minutes a day, twice a day. Feel it as if the contract were already signed. Do not picture the signing. Picture the aftermath, the light feeling, the mother at the doctor, the calm. Plant that for 2 weeks and we will see. She called me on day 11. The client had come back. The contract was hers now. She had not sent a single follow-up email in those 11 days. She told me later, when she came to visit, that the most frightening part of those 11 days was not the silence from the client. It was the silence from her own striving. She had spent 8 months identifying herself as the woman fighting for the contract. When she put the fight down, she did not know who she was anymore. She had to sit, for those 11 days, as a woman who had already received what she wanted, which was a woman she had never been in her adult life. The new self was uncomfortable at first. It felt like she was lying to herself. It felt like a kind of foolishness, but she held it. She held the calm. She held the wish fulfilled. And on day 11, the world delivered. It always delivers when the inner state holds. The gardener responds to the wish fulfilled, not the wish unfulfilled. The harder you chase, the more the chase becomes the seed, and the gardener will faithfully grow more chasing. The moment you sit, settle, and feel the thing as done, the gardener has a new seed and the soil cooperates. This is not psychology. This is not mysticism. This is the way the deeper machinery of your life has always worked. The conscious mind argues, calculates, strives. The subconscious mind grows, and what it grows, the outer world delivers, as within, so without. The mirror does not lie ever. The mirror has never lied. The mirror has only been waiting for you to stand in front of it as the person you actually want to be, instead of as the person who is begging to be that person someday. Now I want to tell you a longer story, because the law lives in stories, not in lectures. There was a woman who wrote to me from Cleveland. I will call her Margaret, though that was not her name. Margaret was a widow in her late 50s. Her husband had died 4 years earlier, and he had left her the house. It was a beautiful house, on a quiet street, with a garden in the back her husband had built with his own hands. Every rose bush in that garden had a memory attached to it. The peonies by the back gate had been planted the spring after their son was born. The little stone bench under the maple had been a gift on their 25th anniversary. The garden was a love letter written in soil and seasons from a man who was no longer there to read it back to her. But the house had become too much for her. The taxes alone were eating into the small inheritance she had left. The roof needed repair. The furnace was old. The empty rooms had begun to feel less like memory and more like accusation. She decided to sell. She put it on the market in the spring. The market was good. Houses on her street were going under contract within a week. Hers sat there 11 months, 12, showing after showing, offers that fell through at the last moment. A buyer who backed out 2 days before closing because the husband had taken a job in another state. Another who lost their financing the morning of the signing. Another who wanted to renegotiate the price down by $60,000 after the inspection. Margaret was, in her words, exhausted. She had been doing everything the realtor told her to do. She had painted the walls, replaced the carpets, baked cookies before every open house, lit candles, played soft music, hired a stager, lowered the price twice. Nothing held. Every buyer slipped away. She began to wonder if she had done something wrong. She began to wonder if her husband, somehow, from wherever he was, did not want her to leave. She began to wonder if she was being punished, though for what she could not name. She wrote to me at the end of her rope, and I wrote back to her one sentence, which I want you to write down somewhere tonight if you can. I wrote, Margaret, you are not selling a house. You are gripping a house, and the universe cannot pry your fingers loose long enough to put a buyer in your hand. She wrote back 3 days later, angry. She told me I did not understand. She told me she was doing everything she could to let it go, but the house would not sell. I wrote back a second time. I said, Margaret, doing everything you can to let it go is still gripping. It is just a more sophisticated grip. The hand that strains to let go is still a hand that is straining. I am asking you to stop straining. I am asking you to sit twice a day for 5 minutes in a chair by the window and to feel the house already sold. Not to picture the sale, to feel the after, to feel the check in your hand, to feel your new, smaller apartment near your grandchildren, to feel the garden, beloved, released to a young family who will love it the way your husband loved it. Sit with that feeling for 5 minutes. Do nothing else. Do not call the realtor. Do not stage the house. Do not lower the price. Sit, feel, and let me know what happens. She wrote back a week later, thoughtful, and then a month later, quiet. She had spent that month doing exactly what I told her to do, which is what I am going to tell you in a few minutes. She had spent 5 minutes twice a day in a chair by the window that looked out over her husband's garden, doing nothing but feeling the sale already done, not picturing the sale. Feeling the after, the relief, The new apartment she would move into, smaller, near her grandchildren, the check deposited. The garden, beloved, released into the hands of a new family who would love it the way her husband had loved it. She did not call the realtor in that month. She did not stage the house again. She did not lower the price again. She simply sat. And on day 32, the phone rang. A young couple, expecting their first child, had driven past the house, fallen in love with the garden through the back fence, and asked their agent to find out if it was still for sale. They paid the full original asking price. They closed in 3 weeks. They wrote Margaret a letter telling her they would care for the garden. The young wife, in the letter, said she had stood at the back fence and felt that her unborn child was already at home in that yard, even before she had seen the inside of the house. Margaret moved into her smaller apartment, 6 blocks from her grandchildren, and she sent me a card the following Christmas that I still have. It said only, "Your word is my wand now, thank you." Hear what happened. The realtor had not changed. The market had not changed. The house had not changed. The price had not changed. Margaret had changed. The grip had released. The seed in the soil had stopped being "I must sell this house" and had become "This house is already sold and the right family is already on their way." The gardener, faithful and obedient, grew what she had planted, and the outer world, which always reflects the inner, simply rearranged itself to deliver what the inner had already accepted as true. This is the law. It is not new. It is older than any of us. Shin called it letting go and letting God. Murphy called it the wish fulfilled. The master called it faith. They are 3 names for the same posture, the posture of the released hand. And every prosperity that has ever flowed into a human life has flowed through a hand that was open, not a hand that was clenched, not one. Not in 5,000 years of human history. The hand has always had to open first. I want you to consider right now what you have been gripping. A job you have been trying to land, a check you have been waiting on, a client who is dragging their feet, a debt you have been pushing against, a career you have been forcing, a house you have been trying to sell, a relationship you have been trying to fix. Name it inside yourself. Just name it. Do not yet try to release it. We are coming to that. But name it. Because the law cannot be applied to a thing you have not yet seen. Margaret saw the grip before she released it. The merchant in Brooklyn saw the grip before he released it. The architect saw the grip before she released it. Every person who has ever turned their finances around using this work began with the same uncomfortable, honest moment of seeing what they were gripping. See it. That is the work for this minute. Just see it. And when you see it, do not shame yourself. Shame is just another grip. See it the way you would see a hand that had been clenched too long, with compassion, with the quiet recognition that it is time finally to open it. There is one more piece of Margaret's story I never told her, and I want to tell you now because I think it matters. The young couple who bought her house, the wife told me years later when I happened to meet her at a community gathering that they had passed that house twice before in earlier months when it was already for sale. They had seen the sign, they had even discussed it, and both times they had walked away because something in the energy of the house felt closed to them. The wife used that exact word, closed. It was only on the 3rd drive past, after Margaret had spent a month sitting in her chair and feeling the house already sold, that the wife had stopped the car and said to her husband, "This one feels different now, let us call." Hear what that means. The house itself, the physical structure on the physical street, broadcast a different signal once Margaret's inner state changed. That is not a metaphor. That is how this works at depth. Your inner state changes the field around you, and the field is what people read long before they read your words or your offer or your effort. Change the inner state. The field changes. The right people walk through the door. Now I will give you the technique itself. It takes 5 minutes. You will do it twice a day, ideally, once when you first wake up, before the world has poured itself into your head, and once at night, just before you fall asleep, when the conscious mind is already half asleep and the subconscious is wide open. If you can only do it once, do the night 1. The night 1 is the more powerful of the 2. The mind drifting towards sleep is the most fertile soil there is. Murphy called this the state akin to sleep. He taught that the doorway to the subconscious is widest when the body is relaxed and the mind is drowsy. That is the window. 5 minutes inside that window is worth 5 hours of striving outside it. 5 hours of striving outside it. Hear that. Hear it clearly. Here is what you do. Find a chair or your bed or a quiet corner of the floor. Sit or lie down, however you can be most relaxed without falling fully asleep. Close your eyes. Take 3 slow breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth, longer on the out breath than the in breath. Feel your shoulders drop. Feel your jaw unclench. Feel the back of your neck soften completely. You are not trying to clear your mind. That is a different practice for a different purpose, taught by other teachers. You are simply letting the body settle, the way a glass of water settles when you stop stirring it. The mind will keep moving for a moment. That is fine. Let it move. You are not trying to silence it. You are simply giving it less to grip. When you feel the settle, I want you to do one thing and one thing only. I want you to choose a scene, a single, small, simple scene. Not the whole future, not the mansion, not the yacht, not the speech you give from the stage. A small scene. A scene that would only happen if the wealth had already come. The smaller the better. For Margaret, it was sitting on her grandchildren's living room floor on a Tuesday afternoon, holding her grandson with no house anxiety in her chest. For the architect, it was driving her mother to the doctor she had been wanting to take her to. For the Brooklyn merchant, it was the moment he handed his wife the plane tickets to Italy. A small scene, specific, sensory. A scene whose existence quietly proves the wealth is already real. Why small, you may ask? Why not the mansion? Because the mansion is too far from where you stand tonight. The conscious mind cannot accept the mansion. The conscious mind looks at the mansion and laughs. The mansion is rejected at the door before it ever reaches the gardener. But the small scene, the Tuesday afternoon, the plane tickets, the drive with your mother, the conscious mind cannot find a way to reject those. They are too ordinary. They slip past the gatekeeper. They reach the gardener, and the gardener, who does not care whether the scene is large or small but only whether it is felt, grows the conviction underneath. The mansion grows from the felt conviction in time on its own. You do not need to plant the mansion. You need to plant the Tuesday afternoon. The mansion takes care of itself. You are going to enter that scene in your mind and you are going to feel it, not picture it. Feel it. Feel the floor under you, the weight of the child on your lap, the warmth of the room. Feel the steering wheel in your hand, your mother in the passenger seat. The morning light on the road. Feel the paper of the plane tickets in your fingers, your wife's quiet gasp, the catch in her throat. The scene is the vehicle, the feeling is the cargo inside it. The cargo is what gets delivered to the gardener. The vehicle is just how you carry it down to the soil. Do not mistake the vehicle for the cargo. People spend years polishing the vehicle, making the visualization more detailed, more vivid, more cinematic, while ignoring the cargo entirely. The cargo is the feeling tone. The cargo is what gets planted. A blurry scene with the right feeling will outperform a brilliant scene with the wrong feeling every single time. Stay in the scene for 3 to 4 minutes. Let it loop gently. Do not force it. Do not narrate it. Just feel it the way you would feel a memory of something that already happened last summer. Because that is the posture. This is not a scene from the future. This is a scene that has already happened. Your conscious mind does not know that yet, but your subconscious will accept it if you stay in the feeling tone long enough. The subconscious cannot tell the difference between an actual memory and a vividly felt imagined one. That is not opinion. That is documented in every serious study of how the deeper mind encodes experience. Feed it the scene with the feeling tone of memory, and it will treat the scene as something to grow toward, not something to wait for. After 3 or 4 minutes of the scene, gently let it dissolve. Take one more breath, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And before you open your eyes, or before you fall asleep, speak 3 short sentences inside yourself. Slowly, with the reverent quietness of a prayer. I am wealthy in mind, and so I am wealthy in life. I receive my good with an open hand. It is done now. That is the whole practice. 5 minutes. No incense, no music, no app, no journal, no notebook. A scene, a feeling, 3 sentences, and you are finished entirely. You get up, and you go about your day, and you do not strain to remember it, and you do not check on it, and you do not ask the universe where it is. You have planted already. The gardener will grow. Your job, between sessions, is to live as the kind of person who already has what they planted. Calm, generous in small ways, unhurried, receptive, that is all. The grip is gone, the hand is open, and the river, which has always been running, finally has somewhere to flow freely. If you forget a session, do not panic. Pick it up the next time. The gardener does not punish you for missing a day. The gardener only responds to what is currently being planted. 1 missed session is 1 missed seed. The next session is the next seed. Keep planting. The soil is patient. The soil has been waiting a long time for you to bring it good seed. Bring it good seed, day after day, and the soil will do what soil has always done. I want to talk to you about what the first 7 days are going to feel like. Because if I do not, you may quit on day 3 and never know how close you were. The first 7 days are where the test is. Not a test the universe is giving you. A test your own conscious mind is giving you, because the conscious mind, the calculating, striving, planning part of you, does not trust this. It has spent your entire life believing that effort is the currency of the world. And now you are sitting in a chair for 5 minutes a day instead of grinding, and the conscious mind will revolt loudly. Expect the revolt, plan for the revolt. The revolt is not a sign that the practice is wrong. The revolt is the sign that the practice is beginning to work. Because the old pattern is feeling threatened. A pattern that is being dismantled always protests on the way out. The protest is the proof, not the problem. On day 1, you will feel hopeful. The novelty will carry you. You will feel a quiet lift after the practice. You will go to bed lighter than you have in months. Good. Receive it. Do not analyze it. Do not try to figure out why it worked or whether it will work tomorrow. Just receive. On day 2, the lift will fade slightly, and the conscious mind will whisper its first doubt. Is this really doing anything? Should I not also be sending more emails? Should I not also be making more calls? Notice the whisper. Do not argue with it. Argument is engagement, and engagement feeds it. Simply notice the whisper and then return to the scene. By day 3 or 4, the whisper will become a shout. You will be tempted to abandon the practice entirely and return to the grind. This is the moment. This is the threshold itself. The conscious mind, which has run your financial life into its current ditch, is the last voice you should be listening to about how to climb out. Stay with the practice. 5 minutes, twice a day. That is your only assignment. Everything else is noise. You may also notice, around day 3 or 4, that the world itself seems to test you. A bill you were not expecting arrives. A client cancels. A friend says something discouraging about your situation. Do not interpret these as signs that the practice is failing. Interpret them, if you must interpret them, as the last echoes of the old seed. The old seed was scarcity. The old seed was bracing for impact. The world was arranged to deliver that seed's harvest, and some of that harvest was already in transit when you started the new practice. The old harvest will keep arriving for a few days. Let it pass through. Do not let it talk you out of the new planting. The new planting is going into a different soil. The new harvest is coming. The old harvest is the tail end of a story that is already ending. By day 5, something shifts. The shift is subtle. You may notice it in the body before you notice it in the mind. The shoulders carry less. The breath goes deeper without your asking it to. A small mercy may show up. A check you had forgotten about arrives in the mail. A friend texts you about an opportunity. A bill turns out to be smaller than you feared. These are not yet the harvest. These are the gardener showing you gently that the soil is moving. Acknowledge them. Whisper thank you. Do not grasp at them. They are kindling. The fire is still coming. Let me tell you about an accountant in Atlanta, a man I worked with 3 years ago. His name was Daniel. He was 46, 2 children in college, a mortgage that woke him up at 3 in the morning. He had been chasing a promotion at his firm for 18 months. He had been working late, taking on extra clients, drafting proposals on weekends, making himself impossible to ignore, and the promotion kept going to younger men. He came to me ashamed. He thought he was past his prime. He thought the world had decided he was finished. He had begun to talk about himself, even to himself, as a man whose best years were behind him. That talk, that quiet inner narration, was the seed. The seed was finished. The gardener was growing finished. The promotion that kept passing him by was not an accident or a bias or bad luck. It was the faithful outer expression of an inner conviction that he was past it. I taught him this practice on a Tuesday in March. He started that night. By Friday, he was already wavering. He called me and said, "I feel ridiculous. I am sitting in a chair feeling like a man who has already been promoted while my life is falling apart around me." I said to him, "Daniel, the feeling like a man who has already been promoted is the seed. The chair is the soil. Stop checking on the seed. Plant it and let it be." He went back to the practice. On day 19, his boss called him into the office. They were creating a new senior position. It paid $60,000 more than the promotion he had been chasing. They were offering it to him. He had not applied for it. He had not even known the position existed. Daniel told me later that the most important moment of those 19 days was not the offer. It was day 5. Day 5 was when he stopped fighting the practice and let himself simply sit in the chair and feel. He said, "That was the day I finally believed the river was already running." After that, the offer was almost a formality. The river was running, the dam was gone. The gardener had grown what he had planted, and the outer world had no choice but to deliver it. This is how it works. Not always in 19 days, sometimes 9, sometimes 90. The timing belongs to the law, not to you. Your only job is to keep the soil planted with the right seed. The timing is none of your business. The timing is between the gardener and the soil and the season. You only plant. If, in the first 7 days, you find yourself unable to feel the scene, if the conscious mind keeps interrupting, if the feeling will not land, if you sit down and feel only doubt, do not punish yourself. Do not call it a failed session. The session is never failed. The session is the showing up. Even the worst session, the one where you fidget and check the clock and cannot find the feeling, is still you arriving at the soil and pressing your hand into it. The seed is still going in, even if you cannot feel it. Just keep arriving. Show up at the chair, show up at the bed, 5 minutes, twice a day. The arriving is the practice. The feeling will come back. It always comes back. The feeling is not something you generate. The feeling is something you allow. And allowing is built, session by session, until the body remembers how to do it on its own. I want to tell you the last thing, the deepest thing, the thing that took me decades to understand, and which I am giving you now in plain language so that you do not have to spend decades to find it. Rest is the highest form of work itself, not laziness. Rest. There is a difference. Laziness is the abandonment of intention. Rest is the deliberate softening of the body and the mind so that the deeper machinery, the gardener, the river, the infinite intelligence behind your life can finally do what it has been trying to do all along. The world has told you that the man at the desk at midnight is the noble one. The world is wrong. The man at the desk at midnight, straining and grinding, is the man who has forgotten the law. The noble one is the one who has done his work in the day and who in the evening sits in a chair and lets the river run. The first man is exhausting himself building a dam. The second man is letting the water arrive at the field. Be the second man. Be the second woman. The harvest belongs to the one who knows how to step back. There is a phrase in the old scripture, "Be still And know the deeper thing. Two halves of one sentence. The world has trained you on the second half. Know, strategize, calculate, forecast, optimize, plan. The world has trained you to skip the first half. Be still, and without the first half, the second half is hollow. The knowing that matters does not come from the calculating mind. It comes from the deeper place, the place that knows the river has been running before any of us were born, the place that does not have to figure anything out, the place that simply receives what has already been arranged. Be still. That is where the wealth lives always. Not in the spreadsheet. In the stillness. I had a young man come to me last year, not yet 30, who had built a small technology company and sold it for a sum of money that should have ended his financial worries forever. He came to me anyway, anxious, sleeping poorly, watching the market every hour, terrified the money would slip away. I asked him what he was working so hard at, given that the work was already done. He said, "I am protecting it." I said, "You are not protecting it. You are anxious handling it, which is the surest way to lose it." The wealth that came to you came through stillness, even if you did not know that was what was happening. You will keep it through stillness. The moment you start gripping it, the moment you start watching it with fear, you are broadcasting to the gardener that the wealth is precarious. The gardener will faithfully grow precarious, and the wealth will respond accordingly. He looked at me, this 30-year-old man with 8 figures in the bank, and he started to cry. He said, "I have not slept a full night since the day the money came in. I am poorer now than I was when I had nothing." I sent him home with the same practice I am giving you. 5 minutes twice a day. The scene was him, 2 years from now, walking on a beach with his children, the money quiet behind him, no anxiety in his chest. He did the practice. Within 3 months, the anxiety was gone. The money is still there. He sleeps now. The man who works 80 hours a week is not closer to God or to gold than the man who works 30 hours and spends 5 minutes a day in the chair. He is further from it. He is much, much further away. Because the 80-hour man is broadcasting, hour by hour, the conviction that supply is scarce. The 30-hour man, sitting in the chair, is broadcasting the conviction that supply is already his. The gardener listens, and the soil delivers, as within, so without. Always, without exception. This is the deeper law I want to leave you with. Effort is not the currency of wealth. Conviction is. Effort, when it flows out of a settled conviction, becomes elegant, sustainable, even joyful. Effort, when it flows out of fear or lack, becomes a wall between you and the very supply you are reaching for. The same hands that grip can also open. The same hours that strain can also be still. The same mind that calculates can also rest. You get to choose. Tonight, I am asking you to choose the open hand, to choose the still mind, to choose the chair twice a day for 5 minutes. In defiance of everything the world has taught you about how money behaves. The world will call this foolish. Let it. The world is wrong about money, the way it has been wrong about so many things across history. The men who have built quiet, durable, generous wealth, not the loud kind, not the lottery kind, but the deep kind that lasts 3 generations, almost all of them, without exception, learnt somewhere along the way the secret of the open hand. They worked, yes, they worked well, but the work was an expression of an inner conviction that wealth was already theirs. The work was the visible echo of an invisible certainty, and the certainty was planted and watered and grown in the quiet of a chair 5 minutes at a time. Year after year, until the outer world had no choice but to match it. "Your word is your wand," said Shin. I want you to carry that phrase home with you. Not because saying words is enough. We have already established that words without feeling are empty seed packets. But because once the feeling is in you, the word becomes a wand indeed. The settled, quiet declaration that flows out of the felt conviction shapes the world the way a wand shapes the air around it. You speak, and the world arranges itself. You do not have to shout. You do not have to insist. You only have to speak from the place inside you that has already accepted what you are speaking. From that place, every word is a wand in your mouth. From the place of grasping and fear, no word is anything at all. You can begin tonight. You do not need anyone's permission. You do not need to read another book. You do not need to wait for the next quarter or the next year or the next opportunity. You need a chair. You need 5 minutes. And you need the willingness to do something the world will not understand. That is the whole price. The whole price. Pay it. Pay it tonight, before you find a reason to put it off until tomorrow. Tomorrow is the place where new practices go to die. Tonight is the place where new lives begin. Choose tonight. I want to offer you one last reframe before we close, because I have watched this teaching for many years now, and I have seen which version of it sticks and which version of it slides off. The version that sticks is the one in which the listener understands that this is not a technique laid on top of an unchanged life. This is a quiet revolution in how a life is held. The 5 minutes in the chair are the visible practice. The invisible practice is everything that happens in the other 23 hours and 55 minutes of the day. Between sessions, you are practicing being the kind of person who has already received. You are walking through the grocery store as that person. You are answering emails as that person. You are speaking to your spouse as that person. You are paying bills as that person. The chair is where the seed gets pressed deepest into the soil. The rest of the day is where the soil is kept loose enough for the seed to grow. Both matter. The chair without the day is shallow. The day without the chair is unrooted. Together they make the new life. Together they shift everything. Together, in a season, they will hand you a life you would not have recognized as possible from where you are sitting right now. Now I want to close, and I want to close the way the old teachers used to close, with a benediction. I want you to receive it, not as words from a stranger on a screen, but as words spoken over you by someone who has walked this road and seen it deliver again and again in lives that looked far darker than yours does tonight. There have been men and women sitting where you are sitting in worse circumstances than yours, with deeper debts and longer histories of failure, who have begun this practice on a Tuesday evening and watched their entire lives reorder themselves within a season. They were not special. They were not more deserving. They were not luckier. They simply planted the right seed and let the gardener grow it. You have the same gardener. You have the same soil. You have the same access to the same infinite supply. There is no version of this in which you are excluded. There is no version of this in which the law works for others but not for you. The law works, always, for everyone who plants the seed correctly. Tonight you become one of those people. Hear these 3 sentences slowly. Repeat them inside yourself, in your own voice, with the quiet certainty of a person who already knows. I am wealthy in mind, and so I am wealthy in life. I receive my good with an open hand and a still heart always. It is done. It is done. It is done forever. Carry those with you. Let them sit in your chest the way a small candle sits on a windowsill in a dark house. They do not need to be loud. They do not need to be explained to anyone. They are yours now. They were always yours. I am only reminding you of what you already know underneath everything the world has piled on top of you. Underneath the noise, underneath the striving, underneath every voice that has ever told you that you are not enough, that you must work harder, that you must prove yourself, that the supply is scarce and the door is small. Underneath all of that, there is a quiet knowing in you. A knowing that says, the supply is infinite, the door is open, the wealth is mine already. That knowing has been there since you were a child. The world covered it over. Tonight, you uncover it. The man at the desk at midnight, the one we began with, he is somewhere right now, somewhere in your city or mine, grinding into a screen, blocking the very wealth he believes he is chasing. You are no longer that man. You are no longer that woman either. You have heard the law. You cannot unhear it. From tonight forward, when you find yourself reaching for the grind, the late nights, the strain, the clench, you will remember the chair. You will remember the open hand. You will remember the gardener who has been waiting your whole life for you to hand him a different seed. and you will plant the different seed. And the soil will do what soil has always done. And the harvest will come, in its time, in its way, larger and quieter than you ever imagined when you were still standing at the dam. Sleep well if you are listening to this at night. Walk gently if you are listening to this in the morning. Move through your day as a person who has already arrived at the wealth that has been moving toward you since the day you were born. The river has been running. It has only been waiting for you to stop building dams. The dams come down tonight. The river is here. Receive it. May your hand stay open always. May your heart stay still. May the supply that has always belonged to you find its quiet way home to you this week and every week after. May you sleep tonight as a wealthy soul and wake tomorrow into the world that has been waiting all this time for you to recognize that you have already arrived. Go now in peace.